All right, let's talk about Serbia. We've been following this story very closely. It was very interesting to watch as the war unfolded. We traveled to Serbia, went to Belgrade, got to meet with a number of really interesting people in Belgrade who, of course, memorize and are very aware of the NATO aggression that unfolded there in 1999, the 78 Days of Darkness. They're very aware and very anti-war and do not want any sort of a repeat of what they went through many, many years ago. Very difficult, troubled times, but it was interesting to watch as I interviewed and talked to different people there about their thoughts about the president of Serbia, President Vucic. Vucic. It's late. I'm sorry, Vucic, who had signed oil and gas, gas deals with Vladimir Putin. Of course, Moscow is a big ally of Serbia, and so this was a natural move, he said, to protect his people as we enter into the wintertime, right? Lining up these gas deals with President Putin to make sure that we're taking care of our people, right? And it really struck a chord with me because I'm thinking, it's so great to actually see a president saying they're going to take care of their own people, not being influenced by what Olaf Scholz in Germany, who flew to Serbia to have a meeting with them to force them into sanctions against Russia. Right. And the United States, this U.S. State Department, furious that Serbia was sticking up for itself.
And not willing to interject itself in what it knows is a nuanced war, right? And so when asked about it, he says, look, we've got territorial wars of our own. We don't think other people should be telling you how to handle this, and we're not going to get involved.
Right. So today, interesting move and really a stunning statement from Serbia against the European Union. The Serbian minister, Alexander Vulin, hopefully I'm saying that right, to my Serb friends who are watching right now, let me know if I'm pronouncing Vulin's name right, Alexander Vulin. He's very pro-Russian. He's anti-Western. That's well known. He's made plenty of statements against the West in the past about West aggression, etc. So this is nothing new. So he went to Moscow and he met with Sergei Lavrov. And during their meeting, he said, quote, Serbia is the only state in Europe that didn't introduce sanctions and was not part of the anti-Russian hysteria. Basically saying, hey, Serbia is standing with its people. Serbia, which was formerly seeking European Union membership, has for years, according to reports, been drifting away from this, right? We know that they've been drifting away from this. And quite frankly, maybe don't even care at this point. When you see what's happening with Italy, when you see that what's happening in the UK, you see Brexit, you see that Italy is likely to be leaving the European Union. That is the next shoe to drop when Italy leaves the European Union upon this next election, and the move away from this like cohesive European experience. And Serbia saying, maybe we don't want to be a part of that anyway. Maybe we don't want your mess. We don't want you sticking your nose in what other people are doing around the world. So they are. He's basically considered Moscow's man. With the Serbian government, Vulin, that he's been advocating the creation of the Serbian world that would unite all Serbs and the Balkans under one flag led by Serbian President Vucic. And then he went on to say that Serbia should abandon its EU membership goal altogether.
Which is bold, right? Because, I don't know, Serbia has been kind of, I don't know, they haven't said this outright, but they've been acting as if they no longer care.
Yeah, I think that that's true. And instead, in fact, when we've talked to, I've seen a lot of you anecdotally have written to me, emailed me from Serbia saying, we don't want to be, we don't want to be a part of EU anyway.
And they certainly don't want to be aligned with NATO for the most part. Right. And
absolutely not. We, again, they've called them war criminals.
I think that, if given the choice between NATO and the BRICS nations, it's an easy choice which one they would choose, which is not NATO.
So Vulin said that Serbia should abandon the EU membership and instead turn to Moscow, which in many ways they already are. And so what does that mean? Aligning itself with the BRICS nations, right? Maybe moving towards a BRICS membership so that they're aligned behind a currency, a Russian, China, South African, Indian, Brazil currency that's backed by commodities, i.e. gold, silver, oil, again, precious metals, when the Western economies are continuing to print billions upon trillions of dollars that aren't backed by any of that. Again, not backed by commodities. The United States economy is backed by air, and debt. The United States moved off the gold standard in the early 1970s. And so, again, when you are a country that's deciding where its future lies and who has your back, and what is the track record of NATO bombing your country and threatening again to do the same thing, basically. I mean, again, where do your loyalties? You follow a bully? Or do you say, I'm going to protect our people and we're going to align with we're going to align with the country that's actually closer to our sphere anyway, and maybe is going to look out for us in the long run?
Right. Yeah, it does seem like those are where the loyalties lie, or at least the and again, it was very shocking to us when we were in Serbia to see how many pro-Russians there were there, and the souvenir shops, like the kiosks in the middle of the shopping centers, all had T-shirts with Putin and Z mugs and things like that. Like, it's unabashed, right? And so much of the population there is pro-Russian. So
what was interesting too is when they had a meeting last time, and I didn't know this, but Serbian independent media had reported that they had a meeting in Moscow late last year, Vulin did. And at the time, he handed his Russian counterpart some wiretaps that were found in a Belgrade meeting. And the wiretaps were from the Russian opposition party, the Russian opposition group in Serbia. So he found them and he handed them over to him, like as a sign of good faith. But he's like, here, we found these. And so here's what they were trying to figure out. But again, shortly afterwards, some of those who were attending in the meeting were arrested in Russia. And then Vulin basically denied that he had handed over the tapes. So I don't know. It's very interesting, that side of it.
It's interesting. We found one guy who was, pro-NATO when we were speaking to Serbians. In Serbia, and we're like, why do you feel this way? And he goes, well, I watch CNN. I like American media. And we're like, oh, interesting. Because no one felt like that except this guy who was a bit of an Anglophile.
Yeah. But I mean, look, to be fair, we talk about Milosevic. We talked about, so there's, people there without their hands clean by a big stretch. But it's very important. I'm looking towards the future, and I'm just seeing like where you're trying to take care of your people. You're seeing economic expansion. You're seeing building cranes, building buildings, and adding economic growth to Serbia. And at the same time, you're making oil and gas leases with Russia so that you can protect your people in the winter. And then maybe looking at what the BRICS nations are doing, and you're seeing the decline of the West with what fail. Like, do you want to join? We go back to the beginning of the show. Do you want to join these failed energy policies and jump on the European bandwagon? So you see what's happening in Germany. You see what's happening in Italy.
No, I don't want to do any of that.
Like, if you have to choose between the two.
No. I want to go live like Henry David Thoreau and nobody talk to me.